Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. This is the case of the Idaho quadruples. May the 4 victims rest in peace. Condolence to the families, and may the correct justice be served. Today I'd like to talk a bit about the interview Stacy Chapin, Ethan, his mother, did with a channel called Squeeze. I'm sure many of you all have watched this interview.
So that was, then you're at Washington State University, Idaho. They were accepted into Montana. And then we just went and walked the campus. It just kind of happened naturally, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful as parents. I mean, like when they all decided that's where they were going, Jim and I were like, we have just become the proudest vandals on the planet. So, the Idaho Vandals. So, I mean, Yeah.
So. The Idaho Vandals is what Stacy Chapin said. She was proud of her triplets going to Idaho, Moscow, but I wonder if Stacy Chapin is actually following what the Vandals are up to. We saw a year ago what they did to Tim Robbins, I believe his name was, the young lad who got assaulted by 50 members of the Vandals. There's many other complaints about the Vandals of assaults, harassments. The coach was even aware of it. A couple of years ago, a girl put in a report that a Vandal player was harassing her, and all the coach could say to her was, stay away from that player. He's known to harass females. So it kind of concerns me a bit that the Vandals are not being properly investigated with all the violence that they have committed towards other students. But yet again, Stacy believes that the Vandals was a right choice.
It's not my job. My job is to mom Maisie and Hunter and get them through this thing. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a detective. I'm not the FBI. I feel like the investigation was in very good hands, but it is true. We legitimately don't know any more than anybody else. The affidavit that was issued a very long time ago, which is, is the same thing that we know.
Wow.
I mean, granted, our kids, have some opinions and they have shared those with us, but, as far as true factual information, I know exactly what you know.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bother me. It doesn't change the outcome.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest thing that one of the greatest messages I feel like that we've done in handling this situation.
Yeah.
Nothing changes the outcome. We cannot bring Ethan back.
Yeah.
So you could spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
Or you can just realize that and figure out how to move forward.
Yeah.
Where, in full transparency, Lemon Drops a big reason also why we were trying to push this interview was, to hopefully be able to talk more about
Right.
this circumstance. But where, just so we're all on the same page, where does the trial stand now?
There isn't a trial date.
Okay.
They have requested, the prosecutors wanted it this summer, but the defense has asked for it to be next summer. So, you're out as far as summer of 2025.
Wow.
And this took place November
of 2022. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
That would be almost 3 years.
yes, yeah. So we have a family friend who he's a prosecutor in town. He's a kid I graduated with. And he's just somebody that allows us to check in kind of, regarding, the hearings and the things that go on. And he just is like, just settle in, Chapin family, because it's just going to be a long haul. It's just how this type of trial is going to go. And you don't want mistakes made along the way. So we just have to be okay with it.
Right.
And it doesn't, again, the outcome is going to be the outcome, whether it's tomorrow or 3 years from now, right?
Yeah.
We don't have any, we can't change that part of it. And so you just really have to decide where you're going to spend your energy. And for our family personally, it isn't there.
Yeah.
It's taking care of Maisie and Hunter.
Yeah.
They are the priority one. And then it's figuring out also how to honor Ethan.
Yeah.
And carry him forward with us, kind of his memory.
Yeah.
And that's where we spend all of our time.
Yeah. That's evident that you guys do that.
Yeah.
Will you attend the trial when it finally happens?
No.
Will anyone from your family?
I don't think so. That is met with some criticism.
And that's just
Social
crazy.
media is, my little PSA is that, the true crime nation is shocking. But at the heart of every true crime situation is a family like mine. I mean, that is my PSA. And it is, we do read it and watch it and take the high road not to comment on it, but it is shocking what people have to say.
Yeah.
And the opinions that they have. And honestly, I mean, if I've never responded, and I want to sometimes, but if I were, I would be like, if you're actually saying that, then you did not know Ethan. Because he is just such a good soul.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me because you know how people say, like, nobody should judge, parents on how they raise their children, right? Because you don't know the children. You don't live that life every day. So, putting judgment on how people raise their kids is like, why are you doing that? Like, you have no place to stand with that. Mm-hmm. Now you want to say, like, on how a parent should mourn their child, you feel like you have any place to, like, that is a decision that you and your family are the only people on earth that know how, what is best for you and your family.
Right.
So that's just, I'm sorry that you even have to, like, hear opinions because that doesn't matter.
Right. And I guess I would answer that question with a question, which isn't a great way to answer a question, but what do we stand to gain by being there?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
So you kind of have
pain?
this...
I mean, I don't
reliving it all again.
It's going to happen anyways, right? It's going to be out there in the media world. And I just, unless for some reason, we have to be there, I just think that we'll just keep living our life. Not everybody feels that way about it, and that's okay. I just can't, as a mom, I guess, see where we would benefit.
Right.
Where any good would come out of it.
It's such a, I don't think strong is the right word, but and mature isn't either, but it's just, I'm in awe that you guys are like that, in that you are able to kind of just put yourself, like, over the situation. Like, I would be so bitter and hold so much anger. And the fact that you're able to be like, it can't change anything, and you're just like, I'm going to live my life and honor Ethan.
But if I was angry, I mean, again, the only people that's going to hurt are Maisie and Hunter.
Yeah.
If mom is debilitated by anger, it just... Again, I feel fortunate for the time that we had with him. I mean, God, would I love to have him back? That's a ridiculous question, right? But Jim and I tell this story of, and maybe you've seen me talk about it, but I think it's really important, is about March of 2023. So it was like 5 months, right? We put the kids back in school, and Jim and I had kind of gotten into a routine, if you will, of like getting up over morning coffee and, just trying to figure out how we're going to navigate, life in the day, and I was off, and there were lots of tears shed over morning coffee. But then one day we just realized that, you know, we really only had two choices. And one was to just literally curl up and call it a day, which isn't an option, or, you know, basically from this day forward, we're going to start putting the pieces back together. And literally from that day, we have done that. Get up, take a shower, take a walk, and we got to put the pieces back together here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is something that I have heard people kind of, that it's resonated. Like, I didn't realize I had a choice. And, you know, our circumstance obviously is extreme, I would say, but in your seasons of life, right? Things are going to come into your life, and you're going to have to go, I kind of have a choice here. I either need to...
Yeah. It's inspiring.
Right? Call it a day, or...
Yeah.
Put the pieces back together and find the most positive things we can out of it.
Yeah.
What about your costume tonight? I'm a Barbie cowgirl. What do you have to say about it? Yeehaw. What are you guys tonight? We're the weenies. Oh.
To start with, I really like to pay my deepest condolence to all the 4 families. And I need to be really mindful, because we are dealing with families that are grieving. They're going through a long bereavement that may never end for them. Losing your loved one, especially losing 4 victims at one time, is horrific. The manner they died, the horrific way they died or were unalived, is another thing too. So I do understand that the family of these victims are going through a healing process, and it's going to take time. I really do understand and respect them for that. Like you all know, my channel is called Reaction Channel. So I just wanted to put in my reaction about this, because many people in my channel have asked me. For the last almost 2 years since this case has started, people have asked me, what do I think about the Chapins and the fact that they do not want to be part of the trial. Honestly, I can see the reason that the Chapins have made this decision to just move on. It makes sense, because obviously people have a different way of grieving. There's different stages even in bereavement. And when you think about it, maybe this family, I wouldn't say is in denial, but they just want to move on, the easier part, and work for keeping their son's memory alive, which is really important. And then example, we have the Congalvis family. That is another example of bereavement. They're grieving, but yet during their bereavement, they made it crystal clear from the beginning that they will attend every trial of this case, because they want justice for Kaylee, and they want to be present. They want to be a part of getting justice for their daughter, which I do understand. So I guess people have a different way when it comes to bereavement. God forbid, may this never happen to anyone, but I personally believe, I have 2 sons and a daughter. If I put myself in their shoes, it's horrific. But no matter what happens, my decision would have been to be maybe like the Gongalves family, to get justice, and not only by getting justice, by being there present at the courtrooms to make sure that justice is served, to make sure that the correct people are held accountable to this, to these horrific quadruples, because there's still so much doubt and there isn't that much evidence that we know of that links this case directly to Brian Christopher Koberger. We saw 4 figures running towards the Sigma Chi that night, that horrific morning. The Sigma Chi fraternity was under the microscope. So it's just difficult for me to understand how the Chapin family have a good relationship with the Sigma Chi fraternity. If they're innocent, it's understandable. But when there is so much doubt with the fraternity themselves, we've heard clearly that E and Xana were involved in a fight with the Davids that night at the Sigma Chi fraternity party. We don't even have their proper timelines of the 2 victims, Xana and Eaton. We heard the people in the grub truck yelling out Xana's name and E's name. So I wonder if the Chapin family, if they are satisfied with the outcome so far. I don't understand, are they trying to say that it's Brian Christopher Koberger who has done that, so they don't find any benefits of going to, what's it called, to the court? That doesn't make sense at all. Because until you see the evidence and until the trial begins, they wouldn't know who. They wouldn't have known who has done these horrific crimes, or if there are other people involved in these crimes, if there are other suspects. I'm sure they are, like they said, they've been watching social media and they find it to be really ridiculous. But there are so much good stuff that we in the social media have discovered. If I was the Chapin family, I would have been looking into what Said was watching on his device. I would have been looking into what the crowd at the grub truck was searching on their devices and looking at in their devices, because they clearly look like figures that were a crime scene. And the fraternity, the Sigma Chi fraternity, is the last place that E and Xana were at. It's the timeline of Xana and E that is in question. So why aren't the Chapins interested in finding out the real timeline about what happened to Xana and E? It doesn't make sense to me. And when Stacey Chapin says that she doesn't believe there's any benefits of going to the court, she knows best, it's her child and she has the right to grieve how she wants to, but I don't totally agree with that. By being present in the court, you would hear everything that is being said better. And not only that, you would be a part of getting justice for E and Xana. And I'm sure that's what E would have wanted. Because imagine if it wasn't Brian who did it. Imagine if Brian didn't do this alone. Wouldn't you want the correct justice for your child? I do understand that it's a very painful bereavement time, but it's almost 2 years. The pain will never go. But you start moving on a bit by bit. And then my question is, why wouldn't you want to go and find out the truth unless you know it? Because Stacey herself said that we don't know the truth. She said we only know what everyone else knows, and that is not much because everything is on gag order. And the fact that the Chapins are watching how this case is moving in such a, I wouldn't say wrong manner, but a weird way. The surveys proved it, that they all were pinning it on Brian Christopher Koberger. So why aren't the Chapins a bit curious to know if Brian actually did it. They must have heard about the Davids. They must have heard about the beef at the Sigma Chi. Let's not forget Hunter Johnson, one of the triplets, was there with Hunter Chapin was one of the first people to come on the scene with Hunter Johnson. I wonder what Hunter Chapin told his parents, because he's in the fraternity. They will try and hide it from him, but things will be going around the university. Rumors spread around. This is a college town. So I find it a bit surprising that the Chapins don't want to be a part of the court case, because I can understand if they don't want to be part of the pre-hearings and all those things, but when the final court starts, I hope they change their minds and decide to go there. Eaton would have he would have wanted justice. He would have wanted his parents to be present there. And then when you look at it on the other side, sometimes I believe the Congalves family are just doing too much. And I believe the other families may be doing a bit too little when it comes to justice. I'm sure they're doing a lot behind the scenes, calling the lawyers and all, but by being present there shows that you're representing your child. By being present there, it's important. I would want to know what really happened to my son or my daughter. And to know that, I've rented a lawyer, attorney, and made sure I was there every step of the way. I wouldn't have trusted anyone, not Brian Christopher Koberger, not the Sigma Chi fraternity boys, no one, until I found out the truth and the whole truth. But besides that, I really do respect how each and every parent, in this case, is holding on with their bereavement, because this is really tough for them. And I do understand what the Chapins mean by moving on, because they're completely right. Either you just break down for the rest of your life, which is not going to help Hunter and Maisie and Stacy and Jim. But then they're doing a beautiful job by keeping his memory alive by gathering money for scholarships on E's name, but by going to the court case would keep them more on track. Because when I hear the word from Stacey saying that, what is it beneficial for? It won't change anything. The outcome won't change. Yes, the outcome may change if it isn't Brian who did it. We don't want justice. We want the correct justice for all the 4 students. So he is a part of it. I'm sure social media, we do try to spread awareness to get justice for cases. We are human beings. We don't always do it according to the book or do it right. But then the main thing is, this case and many other cases is YouTube creators, TikTok creators, people on Facebook and Twitter, people on YouTube that are trying to get somewhere with this case. We have found out so much. So I don't think it's all nonsense on social media, Stacey. I believe we have good intentions too, although it may not look like that all the time. But we do have good intentions. And yes, you're right. Nobody knows Eaton, Zano, Maddie, and Kaylee like their families and friends. But studying about this case for 2 years makes us feel a part of them. We want justice for them. We want justice for any victim who has been unalived or has been assaulted or anything like that. Please let me know, guys, what y'all think. But I really do have the highest respect for the Chapins, Congalvis family, the Canodal family, and the Morgan family. I would love to know what Maddie Morgan's mother feels about this case, and father, because they haven't spoken much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a lovely evening.